Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Radio Show. I am your host, as always, Mark Henry Jr. You can follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _. My co-host from his bedroom over there is as always, Sean Barnard. You can follow him at Sean _Barnard1. And that's if you're watching us here on the stream. Obviously, it is Friday night. If you're watching live, we are airing this Saturday morning as well. So let's cut to the chase, Sean Barnard. Last week's Tough Cover Radio Show, I had the most profitable weekend I think I've ever had giving picks out on the Tough Cover Radio Show. And you might say, well, you only have a half hour to get the picks out today. That's all I had last week too. So we can do it again this week. We can nail the picks in a half hour. And I know you brought some as well. Do you want to get us kicked off for Saturday?
Yeah, I'm light on the college slate this week. Not a board that jumped out to me, so I'm only diving into the NFL water. So if you want to lead off with the college pick, so I can rip off some NFL, whichever you would prefer.
Got it. I will start off with college at 3:30. I like USC -4.5 at Michigan. I just think Michigan is who we think they are. I know, in the Texas game, made the silly mistake of not betting Texas because I was worried that this Michigan defense that I saw last year was going to show up, and it never showed up. And the offense, we know, isn't going to show up. Obviously, quarterback change. They went from Davis Warren to Alex Orji. They obviously are going to probably run the ball a little bit more. It kind of just be what the Justin Fields Steelers are, I think, is what they're hoping for pretty much. But I don't think that's going to work against USC's passing attack. You look at what USC's been able to do. Miller Moss is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's been amazing in the first two games. PFF passing grade of 90.1, averaging 9 yards per attempt. According to PFF, he's the best quarterback under pressure in the country. So that kind of takes away even what Michigan's best potential advantage could be, is USC really not being susceptible to a blitz there. So give me USC -4.5. I think we kind of see pretty similar game to what we saw with Texas. USC jumps out early and they kind of just coast from there. Any take on that game, Sean?
Yeah, I kind of flip-flopped on that one. I was leaning towards taking the points and keeping it a close game more so than anything. So going a little bit different direction than I did for this one. I'm excited to see it. I am starting to become a Miller Moss believer that as much as when kind of breaking down the hierarchy of quarterbacks in the classes, he is a guy that's climbed up the rankings in my mind. So this will be a matchup I'm definitely tuned into. I like the quarterback change from Michigan. To me, it made zero sense to whenever you see Orji coming into the game, you just know exactly what's going down here. So I think at least you can have a little misdirection and maybe flip the script a little in this way. But I'm more so on the side with you that I just don't see it with this Michigan team. And I could definitely see this being a comfortable USC victory. So it's something that I stayed away from.
Yeah, no, I totally get what your kind of your fear is there, but this is kind of like I said it with Tennessee, NC State. I remember a couple weeks ago, I was like, this is your prove to me you're one of the big dogs game with USC, and if you're one of the big dogs, they'll show it here, just like Tennessee showed it against NC State. We'll get to Tennessee in just a little bit. Let's get to my next one, which is either my favorite bet of the slate or my second favorite bet of the slate. I go back and forth with my next two. I love Oklahoma State. This line has jumped up and down because of Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback. We don't know if he's in or out. I don't care. Either way, give me Oklahoma State. Cam Rising is not good on the road. You look at his record as on the home, at home and on the road. At home, 13-0. On the road or neutral, 7-6. That's a massive, massive difference there. Utah in their last 9 games in a ranked matchup on the road, 2-7. And you dive a little deeper into that number, and the 2 wins were against a 7-5 USC team in terms of how they finished the year, and a 4-8 USC team in terms of how they finished the year. Utah hasn't had a quality win on the road in the last 8 years since Obama left office. So
Cam Rising there for start to finish and all of that for sure.
Yeah, Cam Rising's been along the whole way there with the Utes there. But I think it says a lot. Utah is just classic. We talked about it with Tansy and Beef on the Big Brain Show. They are just the classic. You don't want to play them at home, but you want to play them on the road. They're a completely different team. I always think back to Cam Rising a couple of years ago when they played Florida on the road. Florida, I think it was Billy Napier's first year there, probably 2-3 years ago now. And I loved Utah going into the whole offseason. I thought they were a sleeper preseason playoff team. And they go out and they lay an egg as a road favorite in the Swamp, and Cam Rising put up like 14 points and got hurt, I remember, which is the Cam Rising story sometimes. But I like Oklahoma State either way. All those Utah numbers aside, Mike Gundy is kind of the exact opposite. As a home underdog, the exact guy you want to bet. He's not a man anymore. He's more than 40. But I guess I should say he's still a man. He's more than 40. But since 2016, Mike Gundy is 9-1 straight up as a home underdog, which is an insane stat. Since 2005, he's 14-14 straight up as a home underdog. He's second in the entire Power 5 in terms of his home underdog record straight up since that time. So I think Mike Gundy's just a classic. You want to play against him on the road. You don't want to play against him at home. He's playing at home here. Utah's on the road. Give me Oklahoma State. It's as simple as that. Also, you go take a look at Utah's schedule. This is by far their toughest game. So not that like that's how it works where you lose your toughest game. It just feels like Utah could very easily lose this game and have a really successful 10-2, 11-1 year, potentially even make the playoffs. So give me OK State. At 5 o'clock, the one that I'm kind of neck and neck with that OK State game is my favorite bet is TCU. Give me TCU minus 2.5 at SMU. I bet, and also give me TCU team total over 29.5. They've scored 31 plus 10 straight years against SMU, and they might have the best quarterback they've had for any of them. Josh Hoover, third in the country in passing. And I know that they had Max Duggan when they made that run a couple of years ago, but I think this Josh Hoover kid's legit. I think he's the most under-talked about player in the entire country at any school. I know they had a heartbreaking loss against UCF, which, by the way, if you listen to the Tough Cover radio show, you would have known to bet UCF and the over, both cashed. But TCU, actually, I watched that game as much as I could at a wedding. I watched it on the side on my phone, and I walked away really impressed with both teams, UCF and TCU. I walked away thinking UCF could be a potential Big 12 sleeper kind of contender. I walked away thinking TCU. I walked away feeling better than I would thinking after a loss. SMU, not who we thought they were. They're playing their backup quarterback. Give me TCU all day long because of their quarterback. 7 o'clock, not going to even expound on it. Cal plus 2.5 at Florida State. Florida State's what they are. People keep expecting them to figure it out and turn it around. Ain't happening. At that same time, at 7 o'clock, giving Northwestern plus 12 at Washington. Don't know what Washington has shown to be a 12-point favorite. Northwestern lost to Duke. I think they're being kind of downgraded for that. I don't think Duke's that bad. Low-key, Malik Murphy doing a pretty good job there. I think Duke's better than people think. At 7:30, I like Tennessee minus 7. Rocky Top. They'll be singing all night at Oklahoma. I do not believe in the Sooners. Sorry to my Chalk Talk co-host Shane Half. The Sooners, last time they were home underdogs, 2016 against Cardale Jones, JT Barrett, and Ohio State. It is a long, long time ago. They beat Baker Mayfield and the Sooners in Oklahoma. These are not those days anymore for Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield ain't walking through that door. Kyler Murray ain't walking through that door. Jalen Hurts ain't walking through that door. Spencer Rattler ain't walking through that door. Caleb Williams ain't walking through that door. You've got to deal. You know what? Hey, Dylan Gabriel ain't even walking through that door. You've got to deal with Jackson Arnold, and he has just not shown what people thought he could be. He was this huge 5-star prospect, the same way that Nico at Tennessee is. You look at one side of the coin, and you look at the other side, and Nico's showing everything we thought he could be. Any thoughts on Nico or this game so far?
Nico's a stud. He's climbing into that category of get that number 1 pick reserved for him when the time comes there. I know the Arch Manning conversation will get a little entertaining when we get closer to that. But Nico, I could not be more impressed with how good that he's looked so far. And I only think that we're at the tip of the iceberg there.
Donkey Brains of the week. I'll do it since we're doing a 20-minute show. Sean Brayson, everyone trying to push this Arch Manning nonsense. Quinn Ewers is like the second or third best quarterback in the country. Arch Manning's waiting his turn. There's no quarterback controversy. Quinn Ewers will be back next week for the Red River, or maybe Mississippi State before Red River. It'll be fine.
Shout out to Vegas for all the donations they're taking in for Heisman bets for Arch Manning right now. Because he's literally, last I looked, I believe he's 7th in Heisman voting as far as odds, and the highest percentage of any player that they're coming in on is on Arch Manning right now. So people, just save your money.
It's unbelievable. People are special. At 8 o'clock, my last bet on the college slate. I'm going back to the Coach Prime well. Give me Colorado -1.5 against Baylor. We did it last week and it cashed for us. I think the same thing. Baylor doesn't have the strength to take advantage of Colorado's weakness. Let's move to the NFL. Let's not waste any more time. Throw it over to Sean Barnard. What you got?
All right, I got 4 picks for you here. We're starting out with our Philadelphia Eagles. I'm taking the over in this game, over 49.5. I don't feel great about this Eagles defense stopping the Saints offense, which has looked unbelievable. 91 points through the first 2 games, the most of any team in the NFL. We've seen the lack of pass rush of this being generated. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair that the Eagles are going to have to go blow for blow with this New Orleans team. They've gotten over 40 in both games by themselves, so I think that you feel pretty good about this splitting the difference there. So 49.5, I like that number there. Give me the over in that. The Houston Texans -2 against the Minnesota Vikings. I think a lot of people are buying into the hype of this Minnesota team in a way that I just don't think we should yet. Sam Darnold, it's a nice redemption story. He looks very good right now. There's no doubt about it. But we're talking about this Houston Texans team, which I think is a legitimate playoff threat. CJ Stroud, the real deal. This wide receiver core, the real deal. Sign me up for the -2. I don't think the Texans have any problem taking care of business in Minnesota for this one. Next game on the slate, another redemption story that I am on the right side of. Sign me up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -6 against the Denver Broncos. Baker Mayfield looks unbelievable. Bo Nix leading the NFL in interceptions. He is tied with Anthony Richardson in that category there. There's just not enough talent on this Broncos team for them to be super competitive. They've been a pretty boring and dull watch every time that I have had them on the television. And in contrast, this Buccaneers team does have talent. That the Mike Evans of the world, just good old, you know he's going to do his thing. There's a lot of talent, a lot of pieces to this, and Baker's just slinging it around. So I'm buying what they're selling. Sign me up for the -6 there. And the last bet of the day, Baltimore Ravens on the money line against the Dallas Cowboys, -115. I'm not going to go into the -110 for give me the extra point. I'll just take the money line there. I think last week's story, I mean, we saw the Cowboys obviously getting their butts kicked. I believe in this Ravens team. I think they are legitimate. Like, yes, they lost to the Chiefs, but, that's how things go, that they are the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that they need to start building some legitimate high resume wins. I think this is an opportunity to do so. So sign me up for Lamar Jackson and company to take care of business. They got to find Derrick Henry, get him on the right footing because he really has not found it yet. I think I could see that happening in Sunday's slate. So sign me up for the Ravens money line there.
I like it. There's a play that I was shocked to hear you nod on, Sean Barnard, and it's the first one I'll lead off with.
Okay.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. You're backing off your guy Justin Fields against Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I might have to do that just for the vibes there. I'll say this. My concern, I'm still a Justin Fields guy. The way they're just running the ball, I'm just not sure is like sustainable from an actual. It's going to be really boring football for sure in that game. I do lean Steelers for sure. I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger.
I think it's sustainable. I think it's sustainable. Just keep it on the ground. You don't have a long-term contract. You don't have to worry about hurting him. You've got Russ behind him. I'd run Fields 10 to 15 times a game. I think the only difference, I would probably run Fields more. I'd run Najee less, and I'd run Warren more. I'd like to see what Jalen Warren could do. I know he was coming into week 1 hurt. He got banged up in training camp, so maybe you'll kind of see him kind of work more in. I just don't think Najee fits kind of the one cut like read option with Fields as much as a guy like Warren could.
Straight line guy.
Yeah. So I would run Fields till the wheels fall off, to be quite honest. And I think it's the way, like if you're the Steelers defense, and I think you play ball control, don't turn it over. And I think we know when a quarterback runs that often, there's a floor for the offense. They're going to score 13, 14, 16 points at the worst because you're running the ball that much. You're going to move the ball down the field. So Steelers are 22-14-1 against the spread since the end of 2021, since Ben Roethlisberger left. Thought that was a pretty crazy stat. They just keep kind of beating the odds. 9-2 last year in one-score games. And this is a crazy stat. They're the first team in NFL history that's went for 8 straight years above 500 in one-score games. If that is not kind of a testament to Mike Tomlin, I don't know what is. And then you look at the other side. Justin Herbert, 17-22-1 against the spread in toss-up games in his career, games that are 4 points either way.
It's better than what I would have guessed for the record there.
12-19-1 when it's 3 or less. So, and by the way, that's 237th out of 238 quarterbacks in the last 20 years in that spot.
Yeah, I like quarterbacks that win football games. Mark Henry Jr. added to
he has so far. Now it's the tough conversation. It's now like Justin Herbert's winning football games. He's throwing for like 120 yards to do it. It's a joke, and now Beef can go out and brag that he's winning games. But I thought the numbers were what mattered with him. So whatever. It's a whole. The Justin Herbert thing is going to haunt us until the end of the time. Jalen Hurts touchdown. Got to throw it out there. I'm not even going to hit people with the stats. We don't have the time. Eagles team total over 23.5. I agree with Sean Barnard there. I'm going with the team total. 14 of Jalen's last 22 starts, including the postseason, he scored 24 plus points. He scored 34 in week 1. Even last week, without all the tomfoolery, they scored 21 with a kicked field goal and a fourth down that they went for. And we're not rehashing. We're not rehashing the Eagles game. I don't even want to get into it. To be quite honest.
Yeah.
Run the damn ball. Run the ball. It's on Nick. But finishing out the 1 o'clock games, Texans -1.5 at the Minnesota Vikings, riding with Sean Barnard on that as well. Not going to add too much more to that. Will say Joe Mixon being out, slightly concerning, but just throw it all over. I know Minnesota's defense has been good so far. That secondary is not good. They're doing this all with Brian Flores, just scheming people up. They had Brock Purdy going up to the Vikings defense last week saying, man, you guys confused the hell out of me. Like, I didn't know what I was looking at. And that's a testament to Flores. He's a great D coordinator. You have to think CJ Stroud is smarter than to be able to fall for that. And did you see the clip going around with CJ Stroud and Jalen Johnson on the Bears, the cornerback, how he watched him on Richard Sherman's podcast? CJ Stroud's awesome. He really is he's a dog. He's a winner. And by the way, third straight pick, I'm riding with Sean Barnard. Give me the Baltimore Ravens on the money line at Dallas. I love that play. One of my favorite plays of the entire weekend. That is just if you've watched the NFL for long enough and you know the ebb and flow in the league, this is where the Ravens get right. We all know it. On turf for Lamar, he's always good on turf indoors. Not to mention, I could go in depth on all the stats. Lamar's great as an underdog or a short favorite. Lamar's great on turf. Lamar's great against the NFC, which I don't know if that matters, but I'm pretty sure he's still 22-1 against NFC teams, which is just wild. One last play for the late slate here. The Arizona Cardinals +3 versus the Detroit Lions as a home dog. We're on the right side of history on this show. Me and Sean Barnard were both all in on the Cardinals in the preseason, and we've seen what they can do. Kyler Murray needs some respect. You look at what he's done when he's been an underdog in the NFL, 26-15-2 against the spread as an underdog. He's been 500. He's been above 500 against the spread as an underdog each of his 6 seasons in the NFL. He's actually the second most profitable quarterback against the spread as a dog since he's been in the league, only behind his opponent in this game, Jared Goff. Luckily, Goff is a favorite in this game where he's much worse. So I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. Think we get another big day out of Marvin Harrison Jr. Anything on that for you? You were reacting?
Yeah. Kyler's been unbelievable, man. Like 41-10 last week, just carving up that Rams defense and going blow for blow with Josh Allen the week before. Like, I don't know if comeback player of the year is the angle he should be shooting for. I'm sure he's got higher aspirations than that.
MVP?
MVP, I wouldn't fully rule it out, man. Like, he looks like as good as I've seen him in years. And let's not forget, there was a point in time where we were having legitimate Kyler Murray MVP talks. Maybe we're back to that point. I would love for it to be the case.
I think we're at that point. I forget if I said this on this preseason preview or on Chalk Talk, but I was on Chalk Talk because we do a draft on Chalk Talk with Shane Haff and I, where we draft for awards, and at the end of the year we check to see how many we got right. We have to pick 8 players. I think I had the 8th pick after we picked the top 7. I think I took Kyler. I was like, if things go right, I think he's got a chance. Last play here on a side, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs -3.5 at the Atlanta Falcons. 4-2 units. Mahomes, he's Mr. September. By the way, for the Swifties out there, here's the stat. In games that, as my wife looks up and looks at me, in games that Taylor Swift attends, the Chiefs are now 12-3 straight up, 10-5 against the spread. But and you look at without them, just 5-3 straight up and 5-3 against the spread without Taylor Swift. And I'm just saying, get her to Atlanta for this game. I'd imagine she's probably there. Atlanta, big city, And I think she'll be there. What do you think?
Shit doesn't seem like she's got much going on, so I'm sure she's around for the
Oh,
no. But I will know Travis Kelce. Let's get the weight up a little bit. Been a little bit quiet start to the season, so I'd like a little. I know he arrives when the lights are the brightest. Playoff time, he'll be just fine. But been underwhelmed by the Travis Kelce experience so far this year.
Don't let my wife or Sean's girlfriend hear that dig he just took at Taylor. Don't let it out there. On Monday night, last two plays, the touchdown props, just to throw them out there. Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna bet them until maybe this is my last week. If they both don't cash, I won't bet it again. I missed out on week 1. Hopped on for week 2. They didn't score. I think they get back on track here, both on Monday night. So that gives me a little juice on Monday night. I don't really have a take on the games there for Monday night, so I'll go with the touchdown props. That wraps it up. 20 minutes. We just gave you a ton of winners. We'll check back on Monday to know if we did. But there it is. Sean Barnard back there on the 1s and 2s. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to the Gambler. Stay locked to Villanova pre-show for the Villanova game. John Jansen coming up next.